Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Before we begin this public hearing or this confirmation hearing, I'd like to please remind everyone to ensure that your phones are turned off or placed on vibrate mode. This confirmation hearing, sponsored by the Committee on the Guam U.S. Military Buildup, Infrastructure, Transportation, is hereby convened. We do have two items on the agenda, and that is the appointment by the Governor of Guam of Mr. Gurvidner S. Sobti as a member of the Antonio B. Wampat International Airport Authority Board of Directors for a length of 3 years. And then the second item on the agenda is also an appointment by the Governor of Guam on the appointment of Mr. Ricardo C. Duenas, also as a member of the Antonio B. Wampat International Airport Authority Board of Directors, and for a similar time frame of 3 years. In compliance with the open government law, the information on this confirmation hearing was disseminated initially on May 11th, and the subsequent second notice was distributed on, I take that back. The initial notification was disseminated on May 8th, and then the second notice, confirmation notice, out to the community and to the stakeholders was disseminated on May 11th. And like was mentioned a little earlier, we do have two items on the agenda. I'd like to thank my colleague, Senator Will Castro, for joining us this afternoon in this confirmation hearing. And we will proceed with the individuals and their appointments. First of all, we'll start off with the appointment of Mr. Gurvidner Sobti. And prior to inviting him up to the panel, I'd like to invite Mr. Ricardo Duenas, Mr. Charles Ada II, Ms. Didi Camacho, and Mr. Carl Pangolin. And if you would like to provide oral testimony, you're invited up to the panel, please. Mr. Sobti, we're going to begin with the individuals who are here to provide testimony on your appointment, and then we will close out our conversation with yourself. Okay, so we can begin. Gentlemen, from my right and your left, Mr. Carl Pangolin, please, if you can identify yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Okay, Buenas, Hopney, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to say a couple of words in support. I'm going to go ahead and just include both of my experience and my testimony, if you don't mind. I do have another appointment. I don't know if that classifies double dipping, but I'm going to go ahead and
Mr. Pangolin, you may proceed.
And thank you also, Senator Castro. That's the first time I've been able to publicly say that. Will's my classmate from Father Duenas. Again, I'm here today in support of both nominations for renewal of their terms at the Guam International Airport for both Chairman Duenas as well as Director Sobti. I've known both gentlemen for both personally and professionally for decades, many years. Although Mr. Duenas does have the name and the pedigree that shows that he's a long-time resident here, Mr. Sobti himself, I believe, is Chamorro in the soul is what I like to classify him as. He's been a long-time member of our community, a long-time public servant, a long-time contributor to our great island. And I know in my limited years in the government, for 2 years over at IDA, where I did serve under Chairman at the time, Duenas, as well as my 2 years at GVB, I've known Vic to be just one of those, I can't simplify it enough, but just one of those doers. I mean, we've all known throughout the years that, that the governor does make some ceremonial type of appointments and some, political type of appointments. But, in this case with these two nominees right here, these are actual doers and actual workers that roll up their sleeves, dive into the details, and get the job done. And so I like to thank the governor and his staff for, again, re-upping them for their nomination for another term over at the airport. It's our largest structure on island, one of our most important buildings. It's not just the door to our island, it's the door to our people, it's the door to commerce, and it really paves the way in telling that first chapter of our Guam story to our many visitors. And so They have a lot of good things in line up at the airport, a lot of great ways of expanding and enhancing that structure and its services, and they have a lot of great people up there too. And so, we couldn't find two better nominees to serve in that role as director. And so, I'd like to ask the panel and ask the entire body to really confirm these two fine individuals, and that's all I'd like to say.
Thank you very much, Mr. Paglino, for your testimony this afternoon. I'd like to welcome Ms. Kathy Scroll. Thank you for joining us. And also, I'd like to welcome my colleague, Senator Eugene Disco-Lee. Thank you, Senator, for joining us for the confirmation hearing. We can continue to proceed to my left, your right.
Good afternoon. My name is Ricardo C. Duenas, and I am currently the chairman from the Guam International Airport Authority. Good afternoon, Chairman Aguon, Senator Lee, and Senator Castro. I have submitted written testimony in support of, I like to call him Vic, I don't being a little bit informal. I have submitted written testimony, but rather than read the written testimony, I just like to speak informally, because I think I've known Vic for many years, having attended high school with him at Father Duenas, he having graduated a year ahead of me in 1980, so it tells you just how long we've known each other. But as I said, he's one of the older guys on the board. It's been a pleasure. I've only been on the board for about a year now, and I know that Vic has been one of the longest running directors that we have, certainly one of the directors we have right now with the most experience. And we have a number of very qualified individuals that sit on the board, and they all bring specific skill sets to the table, Vic included. And one of the things that they all have in common, however, is that they have tremendous leadership skills. Vic has been a great help to me in my first year here at the board, providing me with a lot of history on the things that the board's done over the years, and letting me know the lay of the land in many situations. So he's been very helpful to me as a new board member, being there only a year. And I value his advice, and I value his opinions. And I think that there is really no one better to serve on the board than Vic. Mr. Sobti has demonstrated a high degree of professionalism, integrity, and I think he will continue to serve the board very well, and I ask for you to provide your support in his renomination. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Duenas, for your testimony this afternoon. Mr. Ada, can we yield to one of your bosses, please, before I allow you to speak, Ms. Scroll, as a member of the board? Thank you, Mr. Ada.
I'm going to provide some very brief comments. Thank you for hearing us today, Senators Castro and Senator Lee, and Chairman Aguon. Unlike Chairman Duenas, I was not part of the elite high school, but I have known Director Vic Sote for many years, and I too am a relatively new member on the board, but I have been really impressed at his institutional knowledge. He has been almost 10 years as a director at Guam International Airport Authority. He is a chairman of the capital improvement projects and property development subcommittees, and he has assisted me with a lot of information in my short tenure at the airport. He is very enthusiastic, and he has the best interests of the airport at heart whenever we are having our meetings. He asks very thorough questions, and I'm here to support him, and I ask for your approval also. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Crow, for joining us this afternoon. Ms. Ada?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Rene Disco-Lee, Senator William Castro. I too also, like my chairman, submitted written testimony, but I like to read it for those those that are watching or those who may not have access to the record. This testimony is submitted to the Legislative Committee on Guam U.S. Military Buildup, Infrastructure, and Transportation in full support of the reappointment of Mr. Big Sobti to the Board of Directors of the A.B. Wonpat International Airport Authority, Guam. The Airport Authority has had the generous service of Mr. Sobti for over 7 years, having served in various board positions throughout the years. Mr. Sobti currently serves as Secretary of the Board. He is well known as a successful local business entrepreneur on island, and he has over 4 decades of experience in the retail industry and brings with him a wealth of knowledge and business know-how needed in our constant efforts to diversify our airport's revenue streams. Besides serving in the board secretary capacity, Mr. Sobti sits on the board subcommittee that oversees the airport's capital improvement projects and property development. Based on his track record as a board member, I believe that he'll continue to be an asset to our organization, working with his fellow board members to propel our airport authority towards positive growth and progress. We look forward to your most favorable consideration on the reappointment of Mr. Sobti to the Board of Directors of the A.B. Wonpat International Airport Authority, Guam. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ada, for your testimony this afternoon. To Mr. Pangilinan, Mr. Duenas, Mr. Ada, and Ms. Crow, thank you for providing testimony on the appointment of Mr. Sobti. Mr. Sobti, you now have the mic.
Me. Thank you very much, all of you guys, and Hafidi and Chairman again, Senator Castro and Ms. Lee. I'm honored and privileged to be here before you and today for my reconfirmation hearing. I desire to continue my public service as a member of Board of Directors for A.B. Wonpat International Airport Authority, Guam. I would like to convey my appreciation to Governor Ricardo for having the trust and confidence to reappoint me to the GIA board. My recent term started in 2013, and the airport has been made significant accomplishments since then. To note a few, we completed a decade-long program of constructing, extending, and upgrading our airfield infrastructure consisting of runway, taxiways, navigational aids. We more than doubled our concession revenues, which resulted in our ability to refinance our older bonds and secure new money without increased costs to the airlines. We're just starting our concourse isolation project at cost of $97 million. This will upgrade the terminal structure and construct a third-floor corridor to isolate arriving non-TSA screeners passenger. Estimated completion in September 2019, since the airport must remain operational during construction. There's much work that remains for the Guam Airport. I look forward to contribute these efforts as a member to the airport board. Your acceptance of my testimony would be greatly appreciated. I ask for your confidence and support by allowing me the opportunity to engage in my public service as a member of GIA Board of Directors. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sobti, for your testimony this afternoon, and also I want to extend my appreciation for extending yourself for another 3 years with the appointment of the Governor of Guam to serve on this particular board. I was looking through your resume, and I think that's one aspect that really is highlighted is what a number of members on that panel with you shared, and that you've been with the Board of Directors of the Antonio B. Wonpat International Airport Authority for over approximately 9 years. And with that, we've seen some good progress with the facility. I know that there are some major capital improvement projects that are being undertaken right now at this point in time, and it's a reflection of the leadership from the board and also from previous general managers as well as Mr. Ada here. So I certainly recognize that. I thank you for extending yourself, and I certainly look forward to voting on your nomination during the course of next week's session.
Thank you, Chairman.
Senators, any questions? Senator Castro?
That said, since two other folks were putting it out for the record, their high school background, I got to say there's also two Duenas men up here. But I'd just like to enter for the record, Mr. Chairman, my support for these two individuals being based primarily on their merit and their upstanding reputation as credible and contributing members of this community. Since you spoke briefly on Bix Dazier, I'd like maybe to talk a little bit about his character. He's personable, he's entrepreneurial, and he's very encouraging. He's a positive person, even in the face of what could be construed as some uncompromising obstacles in front of us. And sometimes I think, Mr. Sobti, that that's necessary when facing some of the most difficult hurdles before the people. With you, Mr. Duenas, Mr. Chairman, at your dossier, I had no idea that you had such extensive experience and education in the areas of taxation. And so I'm impressed with the executive leadership under Mr. Ada and Mr. Martinez, but I couldn't underscore the importance of how comfortable I am as a duly elected representative of the people, that our people's probably arguably most prized asset is going to be in really good hands. And so both of you have my utmost support.
Thank you very much, Senator Castro. Senator Lee?
Thank you. Thanks, Chairman Aguon, and thank you to everyone for being here. Also, Undunkluna Sizus Maasi, Mr. Sobti, for saying yes to the governor's appointment again, and for your continued public service. I know it's not easy to commit yourself to pulling away from your business and to really giving your expertise to our community in this way. So I want to really thank you for that. It's really important that we participate. I have a number of questions for you. The first one, I know that you participated on the board in the past, and I just kind of wanted to see, hopefully with your new appointment, what can we expect from you for the airport's future during your next term? Is there a passion project that you have, or something that you want to continue to see through should you be reappointed?
Yes, we had the biggest hurdle of getting the third floor done, so I'm the committee for that. That's the biggest project. If we come through that, I mean, we already started the construction, so hopefully it'll be done on time, and that'll ease a lot of improvements at the airport.
Excellent. And I just want to add on to that, we understand that the airport really is the first and the last impression that our visitors have, but also, our local residents when they travel. That's the first and the last thing that they see. So we want to maybe encourage every effort that we can to localize our airport even more. I know you were mentioning the concessions. Are there opportunities for more local kinds of food in the concession areas? Do you know if we're opening it up to that?
I think so, right? We just awarded a bid on the construction. I think so. Our next project is on the food. The airport team is working on a new concession for the food court. I think so. That'll be out soon, and hopefully the local vendors
will respond.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, so we want to just encourage a lot of local vendors to take that opportunity, and also maybe any opportunity we might have to encourage local artisans to sell things or have their art displayed, or have more local entertainment at the airport. These are all really great things. One last question, and this is something that I asked to a board member that came up for recent appointment. So the airport should, by law, identify an area other than a restroom within its facilities known as a family room for visitors. So I just wanted to ask you, if you're familiar, maybe Mr. Ada can assist, but I wanted to know where the room is located in the airport, a family room, and how many family rooms we have, and what can we do to improve our family rooms, because we have a lot of families that are now traveling to Guam from other parts of Asia and, frankly, around the globe, and they're traveling with their families. So we want to make sure that we're in compliance with the Nana Zenputgun Act, but just to make sure that our airport really truly is family-friendly for our visitors and for our local residents. So are you familiar with some of the family-friendly facilities in the airport?
I know you did ask that question. I think right after that question, I think so that the team at the airport is looking seriously into that and working. I mean, they're finding more resources to do that. Chuck in.
We're actually in compliance with that. Former Senator Eileen Yamashita was working with the Airport Services Manager. So we actually have 3 locations throughout the airport, one at each level. So we have one at the ticket lobby that is next to the restrooms in between United and Philippine Airlines. Then one in the food court on the secure side, which is right across the currency exchange. And then the third one is down in arrivals that we're going to be completing shortly.
Okay, great. Thank you. And thanks in advance for continuing to push that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Lee, and thank you again, everyone. Mr. Sobti, thank you again for extending yourself to the people of Guam, and we look forward to your service in the next few years. Thank you, folks. At this time, I'd like to invite, actually, he's already on the panel, Mr. Rick Duenas, for a similar appointment for a 3-year term to the Antonio B. Wampat International Airport Authority Board of Directors. And we have the following individuals who have signed up. Mr. Charles Addett II, Paul Pangilinan, I know you provided your testimony initially, and Ms. Kathy Skrull. So anyone else would like to provide oral testimony, you're invited up to the front to be able to provide your testimony. We'll start off with Ms. Skrull, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Rick Duenas came on board in April 2016, and he hit the ground running. He was automatically appointed chairman of the board, and his background does in fact help and strengthen the background of our board. He has been very attentive to the details and the financial state of the airport, and he oversees, of course, finance, operation, and the administration committees. And it's been a pleasure being the vice chairman under him, and I'm very confident that he will continue to lead our board in his capacity as chairman, and I'm here to testify in favor, and I ask for your approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Skrull. Mr. Addett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to read again a written testimony that was submitted, for those that may be watching or those who do not have access to the record. This testimony is submitted to the Committee on Guam U.S. Military Buildup, Infrastructure, and Transportation in full support of the reappointment of Mr. Ricardo Duenas to the Board of Directors of the A.B. Wampat International Airport Authority, Guam. Mr. Duenas has been a member of the airport's Board of Directors since April of 2016 and was immediately chosen by his peers to serve in the capacity of chairman of the board. Although his tenure with our organization has only been a little over a year, he has greatly contributed to the positive direction in which our airport authority has moved. Chairman Duenas brings a strong background in finances to our organization, which is imperative in guiding a multi-million-dollar autonomous government agency. Chairman Duenas currently oversees the Finance, Operation, and Administrative Subcommittee of the board. His keen accounting perspective and commitment to fiscal prudence are assets that have guided our management to another year of a clean audit. That makes it 4 this past year, and speaks volumes of our board's commitment to the fiduciary responsibilities. I am confident that under his leadership, our board will continue to move the airport authority forward to tackle the challenges and take advantages of the opportunities in the dynamic aviation industry. Your favorable consideration on the reappointment of Mr. Ricardo Duenas onto the Board of Directors of the A.B. Wampat International Airport Authority, Guam, is most greatly appreciated. Sus Masi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Addett, for your testimony this afternoon. Mr. Pangilinan?
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. I'll just keep this brief. I said a few words already about Rick, but I'll go ahead and continue. I know the jolly and the outgoing side of Mr. Duenas, but in my 2 full years at GITA, I was just exposed to a very professional taskmaster almost, to the point in terms of running an actual board meeting. And, I'm actually very envious of Mr. Add over there, who has he's very fortunate to have the leadership of Mr. Duenas, heading up the board of directors. Enough can't be said about his knowledge in terms of finance and accounting, and in terms of, looking and examining the numbers and where things are at. There's a lot of numbers that run through the airport, and not a better person to be on top overseeing all of those. So again, I ask the committee as well as the entire body to act swiftly on the reappointment of Mr. Duenas.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pangilinan.
Plenty, but
Okay, you're here for moral support. Okay, Mr. Duenas?
Thank you very much, Chairman Aguon. As I said, my name is Ricardo C. Duenas, and I'm currently the chairman for the Guam International Airport Authority. I have submitted written testimony, but I always prefer to speak from the heart when situations such as this, just to give you an idea of what my feelings are. First of all, I would like to thank Governor Cavo for considering me again to serve on this board. It's been a pleasure and an honor. Over the past year, I've had the pleasure and the honor to serve in this board and to get to know a lot of different people, not just on the board, but also in the management team at the airport and also the rank and file at the airport. In these past 12 to 13 months, I've become very impressed with the operation at the airport. The individuals that are there day in and day out, working to ensure the safety and comfort of all of our passengers, not just our residents, but also all of the travelers in and out of Guam. The airport serves as the economic engine for our island. With our reliance on tourism and military, the airport serves a critical and crucial role in tourism, bringing all of our tourists in and out. And as many people have said, we are that first contact. We are that first impression for all of our travelers coming in. During the past year, I've seen all the different projects that are undergoing and under consideration. And to tell you the truth, I'm impressed and at sometimes overwhelmed with the amount of work that is going on over at the airport. Ultimately, the goal is to modernize our airport so that we are a leader in the region. And today we are a leader in the region as far as airports go. As Mr. Ada has mentioned, over the last 4 years we have been awarded a clean audit by the public auditor in examining our books. This past year we were awarded for the first time in the region a perfect score by the FAA upon our annual inspection for certification. The first time this airport and any airport in the region, including Hawaii, mind you, a much larger airport, that we were awarded a perfect score. And that's really attributable to the dedication of the management and the rank and file staff. That's why I'm here. I'm honored to be asked to serve. It's because I've seen the hard work they've done, and I want to be part of that. I want to be able to help modernize our airport, make sure that it's a safe and comfortable environment. Senator Lee, as far as some of the questions that you brought up regarding the food court, as Mr. Director Sobti has mentioned, there will be a massive food concession that will be going out in a short time. When that goes out, certainly that would be the time for us to take a look and see, when we go through that bidding process, and lay out some of the things that we want to see in that new food concession, to include more local options, something that's more representative of our culture, maybe more healthy choices, because we want our people to have a selection not just of different Asian foods and local foods, but also healthy foods. As far as the arts, part of the budget for the third floor corridor, of course, under law, is a 1%. 1% of the cost will go to the cultural part, our cultural aspect. So certainly we will be looking forward as we get further into that project, looking for ways how we can showcase our local culture throughout the airport, so our visitors have a sense when they're coming in and when they're leaving that they feel that they're not just at a sterile airport, but they're actually in an island airport, a paradise airport. And so those are some of the things that we will be looking at. And as I mentioned, there are so many projects that we're undergoing right now with parking structure, with the apron, with the art facility. There's a lot of moving parts, and I think I hope that if you were to extend my nomination and approve me to serve on the board, those are the things that I would like to work on in the next 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Duenas. You're absolutely right. Speaking from the heart certainly is reflective of your knowledge and expertise with regards to the airport authority. You know, it's interesting, as Ms. Crow mentioned, that you've only been there for about a year, and since then you've hit the ground running. And it's reflective in your comments. And one thing that I really appreciate is not only the statements that you made with regards to the modernizing the airport facility, recognizing that the airport is the economic engine for our island community, and also the clean audit and the assessment, a perfect score with FAA. Those are all tremendous accomplishments. But one thing that really rings in my mind is that you recognize the management and staff and the team members over at the Antonio B. Wampat International Airport Authority, because they're certainly the backbone of that organization. And I thank you for that, because it's truly reflective of how you view the airport, running the airport from the board of directors' perspective, and ensuring that it's a familiar environment and that it's a team that's actually projecting the airport facility and the island community forward. So I certainly have an appreciation for that, and I look forward to voting on your nomination sometime next week if we're able to get the committee report out. Senators, any comments? Senator Castro?
Dispensa, Mr. Chairman, sumaksalig zo guini sa lahat si talubi daho sa disinutem tagi Father Duenas who tatisi si Mr. Pangilinan, and I had no idea that we were going in subsequent fashion. As a matter of fact, he gave a shotgun testimony, and so I followed suit. And even as a quarterback, Mr. Pangilinan, when your call was off, I followed suit. Forgive me, I'm sorry, Mr. Duenas, for speaking out of turn. But I will add that my confidence rests in that your resume evidences you're a member of the Knight of Columbus. And so I'm assured, at least I like to think, that at the end of the day, you'll answer to a higher moral authority. So thank you again.
Thank you, Senator Castro. Senator Lee?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you so much, Mr. Duenas, for anticipating some of my questions. With regard to your testimony, I just wanted to first thank you for your continued service. I know that you served on the GITA board and you had a lot of success over there, so we're glad that you're able to continue your service, and thank you again so much for accepting the governor's appointment to this post, and we look forward to confirming you. You mentioned safety. Safety was the first thing that you alluded to, so I wanted to ask you what your thoughts are about any safety challenges that we have at the airport, and how the board, under your leadership and with the hard work of Mr. Atta and his team, are working to address any of those safety challenges.
Well, first of all, you understand that at the airport, obviously safety is mission one. We're operating in a situation where the lives of thousands of people each day are in our hands, whether it's from the flight coming in, the processing of our visitors, through clearances, individuals coming to pick up passengers once they get off the plane, the securing of our borders within the airports to make sure that everything is safe. We place a lot of emphasis on two particular entities. First of all, our airport police and our fire and rescue. We hold them to high standards. We make sure that they are adequately trained and given the resources to successfully carry out their mission within the airport. And then as far as in the airport terminal itself, making sure that our facilities are within the mandates of the TSA, Transportation Safety Administration, as well as the FAA and Customs and Border Patrol, making sure the passengers are secured, making sure they're in a sterile environment, making sure that we anticipate any contingency and have plans and backup plans to address those situations. So when you say what are you doing as far as to ensure safety? The safety concern permeates our operation throughout our operation, from the police to the fire department to safety at the gates, to making sure our passengers know where to go, how to get there, and to get there in a safe and reasonable manner. So it's throughout the whole organization. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Lee. Thank you again, folks, Mr. Pangilinan, Mr. Sobti, Mr. Duenas, Mr. Atta, and Ms. Crow, to all of your supporters in the back of the public hearing room. I know there's But aside from that, thank you again for extending yourselves to the community, and I look forward to voting on your nomination next week. This concludes the confirmation hearing on the appointment of Mr. Sobti and Mr. Duenas to the Board of Directors of the airport. And for the information of the public, the committee will continue to receive written testimony up until the close of business on Wednesday, the 17th of May. Upon that, the committee will work on closing the committee report so that we can request from our colleagues to place these two appointments on the agenda for session next week. Thank you very much again, folks. Have a good day.
Chairman, now that we are adjourned, I would just like to wish Mr. Carl Pangilinan a happy birthday today. Thank you. Happy birthday.